Viewers, this is yet another Sunday evening, and we're glad to have you in the show tonight. Occupy Today is our dear program that we've been running the last many or a couple of years, and we're delighted that you are able to join us, our dear viewers. Please, most welcome. I hope that you can grab a glass of water and sit back, enjoy, and be with us in this show because there are good things happening tonight. Yes, so this is Occupy Today, the show that equips the business community, business people. If you're in business or you're an aspiring business person, this is the show for you that helps you to take your position in the business space in Kenya and beyond. Just in case you're watching from abroad, this is your show as well. And yeah, we are delighted to have you tonight in the show. My name is Sarah Kajuju. I am a growth coach in the areas of personal development and entrepreneurship development, and I'm delighted this evening to host this show. Guess what? I'm joined by an amazing lot in the show tonight, Susan and Dennis, and I'm so glad to see you guys. I'm glad to have you in the show tonight, and I want you to quickly introduce yourselves. Bring on yourselves even as we look at this topic of personal awareness, self-awareness as we do our businesses. So yes, where do we begin? Do I do picky, okay?
Okay.
Lovely. Go past Susan.
So my name is Susan Awor. I am the managing director of an organization called Proven. I have a background in HR, but Proven basically provides fundis from masonry to plumbing, to electrical and solar, to your homes as well as your businesses. Yes.
Hey, I tell you, Proven.
Proven.
Who proved it? Or
Our fundis are proven.
Oh, your fundis are proven.
Our fundis are proven to deliver.
I have never known the meaning of that brand. Now
Yes.
I know.
Now you know.
Proven.
Yes, proven.
Oh, lovely,
Yes.
lovely, lovely. Most welcome, Susan.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to have a beautiful, amazing introduction with you. Deliberations with you tonight.
Yeah.
Just to tell our viewers that they just need to be self-aware,
Yeah.
to know themselves so that they can do businesses.
Yes.
Yes, Dennis.
Yes.
Bring on yourself as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you, Sarah, for having me today. My name is Dennis Miner. I am a consultant psychologist running an organization called HOSEC. It provides consultancy on mental health matters and soft skills training. So that's what we do, just empowering people, helping people get the best out of themselves and heal from any emotional and psychological injuries and wounds they have gone through, so they are able to become a better version of themselves, and they are also able to run their businesses well as become productive employees wherever they have been assigned to serve people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who better would have been in this program this evening?
Yeah.
Talking on that topic of self-awareness. I believe the two of you are just the best choice of guests that I could possibly get. And so our dear viewers, just sit, cool sit, and have a notebook with you so that you can take as many notes as possible, because these two are well equipped to handle this topic. And I'm sure that even as you sit back and engage in your questions and comments, you will learn, and we will also learn as we go on with it.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Did you call it Hosek or Chosek or what?
HOSEC, the C is silent.
Oh,
Yes.
where does that come from? Is it French? Is it Chinese?
No,
Is
it's Hebrew, meaning
Hebrew.
to lift up, to encourage, and to support.
You know, I've been seeing that name, but I didn't know what it meant.
Yes.
Oh, but that's a very profound meaning.
Yeah.
So you lift up, you encourage, you empower, you
Support.
bring people up and support
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Yes.
With soft skills, I hear.
Yes.
And
Mental
counseling?
health awareness,
Mental health.
counseling.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Lovely. And where do you practice this? Are you in Kenya, abroad, or everywhere?
Yes, I practice in Kenya, but I also offer consultancy online in different countries, and just being able to help. And that's a coaching aspect, because I'm also mentor wellness coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Lovely. And I know a little bird told me that you also do this within your church. Is that so?
Yes, yes, I do that as well.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's important to also give back to the community.
Yeah.
Because when you have a healthy community, even
Yeah.
as a business person,
Yeah.
you also, as you support people, you also get the benefits as well. So you have to give. So I also serve in my church as well.
Lovely. I'm coming back to you. I want to know much more about your business, even as we begin and just set the good space for us to discuss this. I want to know a little more about Hozek. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you got it right.
Lovely. Very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Susan.
Yes.
Proven.
Yes.
Tell me more about it. When did you begin? What are you doing? Who are you serving?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Proven began last year, but one that should have been 2021. But it's not something that I can say began in 2021. I already had the vision around 2015.
Yes.
So the idea was, of course, our major vision is to, one, support people in the technical field,
Yeah.
mentor them, train them, assess their skills to ensure that they have what it takes for them to do the kind of roles that we have for them.
Yeah.
And then now link them up to people who require their services.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had as a vision is that when you interact with our fundi, one of the things you'll say is that that was a different fundi, especially because of the kind of background that we've had and even the kind of experiences people had shared about interacting with the fundis.
Yeah.
So our vision is, of course, to uplift them.
Yes.
And also to negotiate in terms of how their pay is, so that you're also paying for good service, quality service, which is probably unmatched in this particular industry. So yeah, we have an all-round kind of vision for them. So we are sort of like a social enterprise as well as a revenue-generating business. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
How we need people like you in this Kenya, Susan.
Yes.
You can be sure there is a lot. There are so many people that are unemployed that don't even know what skills they have. They don't know that they can add value to somebody's life.
Yes.
And people like you do such a meaningful task
Yeah.
in this side of the world. Because I don't know the rate of unemployment in Kenya today, but it must be quite something. And the little, the much, whatever you can contribute to that equation,
Yeah.
you're doing an amazing job. So most welcome. And it's good to really meet the two of you. And even as we go on,
Yeah.
I would just want to understand this topic of self-awareness. What has it to do? What is it all about? And because you're in soft skills, you're in counseling, you're in the person, self-awareness. Are there people who are not aware of themselves? They don't know that they live, they don't know that they exist? Or what does this mean exactly, Dennis?
That's a very interesting question. And I would say that yes, majority of people have an idea or an understanding of who they are. But however, it's up to a certain extent. Because many at times, and according to research says that it's only about 10 to 15% of people who are self-aware. Yeah. However, it's based on how one would want to define self-awareness.
Yes.
And probably a simple definition of self-awareness, and especially now as we look at even the business aspect, it is a conscious knowledge of one's character, one's feelings, one's motives, and one's desires. So one has to be consciously aware of these aspects of their lives. And what happens to self-awareness? It's supposed to be one, internal, where you understand yourself. However, it's also supposed to be external, based on other people's perspective. Because remember, also in business, it's not about you. Yes, you have a significant role. However, remember, there are so many other parties who are involved even as you do business. Whether it's your clients, your customers, your employees, your family as well. So all these people also contribute to your self-awareness. Their perspective is also important to your self-awareness. So self-awareness is both internal and external.
Whoa. That's comprehensive. I don't know whether we say the grace and we go from here. Yeah, because you have covered it in very, very good scope in terms of you're saying that it's a conscious. I love the word conscious. So you must be very consciously aware about your motives,
Yes.
about your desires. You mentioned something else, your
Behaviors.
feelings,
Yes.
and your behavior.
Yes.
Oh wow, 4 things.
Yes.
Very, very
or your
important.
character as
Or
well,
your
because
character
business
as
is
well.
also about character.
I hear you. But it's not just you, it's also the rest of the people around you, your
Yes.
clients,
Yes.
your suppliers, the government. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, it's all wide, eh?
Yeah.
It's quite something. It's
Yes.
quite something. It's quite something. You know, as you were talking, I remembered the Johari window.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
I remembered the Johari window and
Yeah.
those beats
The 4
where
pins.
the 4, yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy. But yeah, let's just unpack it further, Susan. And I want to understand then if this is about self and about the people you're working with and the people around you,
Yeah.
then the business, the
Yes.
business aspect of it,
Yeah.
plus this person now, how do they marry? Where does that collaboration or link come in between the two?
Yeah, I think yeah, Dennis, what you have said is very comprehensive, but I think self-awareness in business is very important because, as you mentioned, it affects your employees, it affects your customers, it affects every other person that you probably are interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So your understanding of yourself will either make the business successful or make the business fail, or you'll be able to meet your vision and your values, or you will not be able to actually be able to meet them, depending on how you understand yourself and even how you behave probably as an individual. But I think one of the things I really liked about Dennis is, of course, when his definition is when he says, of course, one of the things you need to also know is your desire.
Yeah.
So if you're self-aware and you know that you have a desire to do something for a certain for certain people, and you have a vision, then you're able to also internalize it and also bring it to fruition.
Yes.
Because now, if you do not understand that particular desire, then you can't even go into business. It could just be as simple as that. Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. And I'm hoping that our dear viewers, you're listening to this and you're internalizing as I am.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I actually tend to believe that business begins with me as the entrepreneur.
Yes.
And like David alluded to, that not unless you begin with you as the lead and as the first person in that organization, then it will never be able to see the light of day. And I want to understand it further, Dennis.
Yes.
And I don't know whether you're saying this because you're in the space of helping people for them. If you were in manufacturing, for example, or you were in technology, would you still say the same, that self-awareness is as important?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yes, even in manufacturing, in whichever area of business you are in, it's very critical. It has to begin with self, because you can't be in business if you're not passionate about what you're doing. So it has to come from an inner drive of self. Then externally, you can't be in business if you are not serving the needs other people have.
I
If
hear
you're not
you.
fulfilling a need in the society and in your clientele.
Yeah.
So it's both in and out. Yes. So it even in whichever industry one is in.
Yeah.
Yes, it applies.
Now, let me understand this, Dennis, from what you're saying. This afternoon, I gave a young lady in my church, a lift, and we got talking, and she asked me a question. And the question she asked me, she's a Sunday school teacher, and she told me that what she enjoys most is teaching the kids, but most of all, the conversations she has with these children after the class is gone. So she will sit down and listen to one that is crying, and she will ask, why are you crying? She will listen to another one who has a new handkerchief, and they will rejoice over it. And she was asking me, what should I do? She's running a restaurant, but the restaurant is not as fulfilling for her as the teaching Sunday school. She feels more connected to teaching Sunday school, but of course, teaching Sunday school is not earning her an income. But on the other hand, she's running a business, and she's asking me, so, yeah. Now, the aspect of self-awareness in such a scenario, what would you say?
Yeah, very, very critical. Self-awareness becomes very important in such a scenario because one needs to be able to evaluate themselves. Because one of the self-awareness also has different aspects, and one of the aspects of self-awareness is self-understanding, or self-reflection. So you need to be able to reflect and ask yourself, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I enjoy doing? What areas am I gifted in? What are my giftings? What are my talents? What are my abilities? So that when you are driven by self-understanding, when you understand where you are at, who you are at, and what comes so easily for you, and where you are gifted in, then you are able to invest in such an area, or invest through those abilities and get into an area of business or even a career line that suits those abilities. When you are able to do that, then it becomes easier for you to be able to employ all these things and channel them towards what you're doing.
I hear you.
Yes.
Now, Susan, as Dennis is speaking,
Yeah.
what is going through my mind is, he keeps saying you
Yeah.
as the person.
Yes.
And I'm wondering whether the journey or that path to being self-aware can be done for somebody. Can I do it for you? Can you do it for me? You get what I'm asking?
Yes.
Or must it be me doing it for me?
Doing it for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very important question, Kajuju, that you've asked. I think I'll just give an example of my own journey. I can be self-aware for myself, but I also have people around me who can be aware of my giftings and my strengths and who I am that I'm not aware of. And sometimes, because a lot of times we are driven by our emotions, our fears, how we think about our self-worth and all these other things, that we do not take certain steps in our career or do certain things because we are limited in terms of how we see things. But then again, one of the things I think, and I took that journey before I also started my business, was knowing who I am, knowing what I want as an individual, choosing whether the kind of business I'm doing is going to fulfill me as well as give me the kind of income that I want. But as much as I was going through that journey, and of course, I still self-reflect even up to date. The other thing that I also do is I also allow people who are close to me to sort of define who I am when I'm asking them questions like, what do you think, who I am, who am I, what are my strengths, what are some of my weaknesses?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to self-awareness also, one of the things I have learned, it's very easy for you to also be able to tell when somebody is telling you something that is a truth or something that is a bit off. And when my friends or my family tell me something that I feel I'm not very sure about, or I'm not very convinced that is probably an emotion or a behavior I have, then I would ask them, would you give me an example? Give me an example of why you'd say I probably have this particular behavior, or this is how I react in a certain situation, and probably how it is that it impacts other people when I behave in that particular way. So yes, I think you can know it for yourself, but I think also people around you can also help you to define who you are.
Lovely,
Yeah.
lovely. So if I hear you right, there's the place of mentorship. There is the place of a coach.
Yeah.
There is the place of other people who have walked the same path, and even observing them and just getting feedback from what they have been in. If I hear you right, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been faced with that, and has there been an awakening in you that has been as a result of these people in your ecosystem?
Yes, that has been very critical to my journey as an entrepreneur and my journey also as an individual.
Yes.
Because every once in a while, in whatever you're doing, you need to get, in that aspect, we actually call it feedback. You need to get feedback from the people you're serving. You need to get feedback. And through that feedback, you're able to grow. If it's a service or a product you're giving, as you get feedback from people, you know where to improve. You know some of the changes that you need to make so that you're able to deliver in a better way in whatever area. Then you also need to continuously grow, even when you're getting good feedback. For example, as we hear the world over about some of the organizations, it's because that probably closed down. It's because they refused to grow. So in order to grow, you have to be in an environment where you're interacting with other people and getting feedback from other people, just as you are talking about mentors, even competitors. You can get feedback from competitors just by observing how they are doing what they're doing. And through that, you're able to see gaps on how you can improve. So it's very possible to grow through the feedback or through the information that you're getting from other people.
Wow. Indeed, feedback is the breakfast for champions, Dennis and Susan.
Yeah.
Yes, and I don't know, is it then important for us to be self-aware? Of course, I hear you say so that you can be able to do this, but if we were to put some solid weight to self-awareness, what would we really say is the need for being self-aware in the first place?
Yeah.
Susan?
Yes, I think self-awareness is very important because of the kind of impact it has within you. And I'll give a very practical example. If I'm aware that I'm very fearful, then when I am approaching somebody for business, then I know my behavior is about my fear and not necessarily about the situation itself. So the self-awareness makes you know where your weaknesses are and also where your strengths are. If you know that your strength is in relationship building, and one of the things you want to do as a business is build probably corporate relations, then you know when somebody is sent in for a presentation, for example, that you actually have to be there for that particular presentation for you to be able to bring the customer on board. If for example, I am not good at maintaining long-term relationships, then I know who in my team is very good in maintaining that long-term relation. And so you can actually be able to hand that over to them. I also see it with how you also relate to your staff. If I have probably a strength, which is that I'm very approachable, then it means when my employees make a mistake, then they easily come back to you and tell you, no, Susan, here I made a mistake, so I can actually have that particular conversation with you, rather than if I am very volatile and the employees make a mistake, then one of the things they will feel is that they can't actually come back and report that to me. I think it's also very important when you're dealing with customers, because I think I've also been able to see it. When you're dealing with customers, there's a lot of conflict that arises on delivery, on how they would want things to be done. If you are afraid of conflict as an individual, then one of the things you do is when you're seeing a situation not going in the way that it should go, you're not approaching it, or you're avoiding it completely. So if I am self-aware and I know that one of the things that I do a lot is avoid some of those situations, then I look for what Dennis is saying. How do I grow in that particular area so that I am able to face those particular situations, because they're important for the business. You cannot be avoiding all the customers. So how do I, as an individual, where does that come from? And why do I respond and react in that particular way? And how can I build myself in a way that I can be able to overcome a lot of these challenges that I'm actually facing?
Whoa, very well put.
Yeah.
And very comprehensive indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, and I hear you that, I hear you say that you being the owner of the business, you have to first and foremost understand your weaknesses and your strengths.
Yes.
And you have to then align them to the business. But I also think that you're also able to call out accurately the strengths and the weaknesses of the other person when you're aware of your own.
Yes.
Why? Because sometimes when you don't know what works for you or what comes easily, like Dennis put it initially, you half the time will not know what works for the other person.
Yeah.
But because you know yourself, looking at the other person as a reflection of yourself, you can actually easily tell. For example, this afternoon I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, and I was telling them how they would compliment me, because I have seen what I'm good at and I have seen what they are good at. So I'm able to call it out from them
Yes.
because I can see what comes so easily for them. They're very
Yes.
good with exposition of
Yeah.
scripture, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
They're very good at writing, which
Yeah.
I not necessarily, it's not my cup of tea.
Yes.
So for them, it comes so easily because I can tell what works for me very easily.
Yeah.
So I think self-awareness is such a big plus for any business person, right from the top to your teams,
Yes.
to wherever you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the other thing you would say emphatically self-awareness does, and especially in terms of being able to communicate your brand or be able to bring out your brand as an individual and as a business, Dennis?
Yeah. What something else that self-awareness brings is a deep understanding. Because remember what we said is that self-awareness is a conscious knowledge. So what happens when you are consciously knowledgeable about yourself and about your business is one, you become more confident. So as you present your brand, as you present your organization and represent your organization, you come from a point of confidence. And obviously, when you interact with people, whether it's your clients or even your employees, they are likely to buy into your idea based on the confidence that you have. I remember one time someone telling me, I was in a training and the trainer asked a question. And when I answered the question, I was not sure if I had the answer right. And he told me, even if you're wrong, be confidently wrong. Because someone might just end up believing in what you're saying. So that aspect of confidence, it's easy to sell your idea, it's easy to sell your brand and your business. The other thing with self-awareness, when it comes to that deep understanding and conscious knowledge, is that it also helps you, apart from confidence, it also helps you to be able to communicate better. Confidence allows you to communicate better, both to your employees or your team, and as well as communicate your brand to your clientele. Yeah. So it gives you the aspect of confidence as well. Yeah. So and through that also, it also means when you are self-aware, you're likely to build a better culture in the organization. And that means that your employees are also likely to be happier and to be more productive and effective in whatever they are doing. And obviously now that will translate into the marketplace when you're dealing with your clients or when you're selling your products. So even the aspect of your output, whether it's services or goods, they are likely to be of a better quality or a higher quality.
Whoa. You know, as you're speaking, I'm seeing two people. One that is not self-aware because you're painting the picture very well, and another one who's so self-aware, and I can see what works so well for this one, and like this other one who has no idea of what is going on. Why? Because like you're saying, I love the bit of confidence. When you are so self-aware, it gives you a lot of confidence. And you know, confidence, by the way, can break barriers that nothing else will. Why? Because even when you're wrong or when inside of you, you're not too sure of what is happening, but you approach a scenario, for example, if I'm selling to you this handset, and I know too well that whatever is inside it may not work, but because I came to you confidently with a smile and with my shoulders up high, you actually buy it because of how I have presented myself. So really, I totally agree with you. But I'm also curious to know whether you have seen business people that are not confident and I mean that are not self-aware, and how does that pan out in their businesses? What symptoms do you see in their businesses so that you can say, this one, the person behind it must be going through 1, 2, 3. Are there such? Is it likely that you would actually pick out that?
Yes. Maybe to just add to what Dennis has said in terms of branding, because a lot of the vision comes from the owner of the business. And a lot of the values that the organization has. So I'll just marry that with what it is that you're saying. So the values that the organization have come from you knowing exactly what your vision is, what it is that you envision. The products can continuously change, but your vision and a lot of your values will still remain. So if you, for example, have a value that you know your value is integrity, then one of the things that you will do is you'll behave in a manner that shows integrity. If, for example, my behavior does not show me as an individual of integrity, I will confuse my customers, I will confuse my employees, everyone else is going to get confused because they're thinking you're saying one thing, but in terms of your behavior, you're behaving in a totally different manner. If transparency is very big for you, then everything within the organization has to be transparent.
Yeah.
So if, for example, you're not able to, I'm just giving an example, you're not able to do something for the employees and you had actually told them that you're going to do them, transparency will dictate that you need to communicate that before, so that they have an understanding that we had planned to do this on a certain day, but we're not able to do it. But yes, it does affect, and I think I've been able to see it a lot, especially when an organization probably wants to change their culture, but the leadership in terms of their behavior are not realizing that their behavior is influencing even the current culture that the organization has.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that again.
Yes.
Whoa. There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack in this topic.
Yes.
And I'm hopeful that you're right there, my dear viewers, this evening. Please don't go away, even as we go further to just discover what is the process? How does a self-awareness happen? Does it just happen overnight? Or is it a process? Is it a journey? What is it all about? And I'm hopeful that you will still be here even after our break. So we take a short break and we'll be right back. Please don't leave. Just grab yet another glass of water and let's continue with this discussion this evening on Occupy Today. Thank you.
Only God can turn a mess into a message.
I have a boy on a wheelchair. I'm still preaching on the pulpit.
Amen. Niliona mguu ya nyuma inakuja tu kunikanyaga, imenilenga tu kwa tumbo. Nikaitana tu, Jesus.
I got tired of working with the X-ray papers, and one day I just woke up and decided to burn them.
A test into a testimony.
The whole community didn't want to hear that anybody is born again. Excommunicated, straight.
Bila Yesu hakuna njia.
Join Sharon Naitore Wangenye on Testify.
Katika hiyo harakati hiyo spirit ikakemewa, mimi nimeona Yesu Kristo namna hii kwa msalaba. Opa, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m. for a moment to grow your faith some more.
First Thessalonians chapter number 5, verse 17. Pray without ceasing, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you.
On Watch and Pray, we pray for you and with you regarding your prayer requests, our nation and the whole world.
There's this one who is saying there's a marriage separation in marriage, but let's pray for the babies and then restore also. Father God Almighty.
Join Mama Eda Adoyo on Watch and Pray every Monday from 7:30 p.m. live on Hope TV, where you look and live.
Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Spotlight.
Do you feel like they are in a place where they can effect a Barack Obama moment?
When you hear the word of God and you hear Jesus is speaking.
Real talk on real issues.
You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead.
The truth of the gospel that will survive the time is not a health and wealth gospel.
When there is time to harmonize and bring one composite amendment.
With idealistic, thought-provoking guests.
So people come to be serviced, to be encouraged, to be empowered.
When the storm is over, you desire the closeness you have with God.
Hosted by Reverend Edward Furi.
Thank you. Thank you very much for keeping it right there We're still on this topic of self-awareness and its impact on entrepreneurs, but also on the journey of entrepreneurship. And of course, I have Susan and Dennis in studio this evening. And I'm glad to have you guys. I am actually glad that you have walked this journey. You have seen what self-awareness has done for your businesses and what it does for other people in your sphere of influence. And so with that said, Susan, I just want to ask, I know you've been around for a couple of years in business, but I don't know the place of self-awareness, especially particularly in your business and as an individual. And I'd like to know, are we talking things that are superficial or are we talking things that are so personal and that you have actually seen their impact in business? Either your other business or Proven or whichever. Could you tell us what this has meant for you in business?
In business. Okay, so I'll speak about my character and probably also how I have seen my character affect the business. So as an individual, I have a high level of perfectionism. I like things done, or rather I used to like things done in a certain way, in a certain order. And I would want to see the results and even the customer giving us a very high satisfaction level. When I was doing, and I still do HR consulting, that was very easy because I was the only person doing it. But now I have a team and I have to depend on this team to be able to deliver to the customer. So there are situations where the team cannot be able to deliver a lot of these things to the customer, not because they don't have the ability, but because there's so many other elements that come which may not necessarily enable you to get, you can get 80% or 90%, but not necessarily 100%. So one of the things that it has taught me, of course, is to understand that sometimes you cannot be able to get probably the maximum level that you'd actually be able to want as an individual, and also the ability for me to be able to know that my team or the team that I'm building should be able to deal with certain situations when I am not there, so that I'm able to empower them as individuals instead of thinking that I need to be everywhere in my business. I think the other thing that possibly I have learned is, one, of course, a lot of times fear is an illusion. you think things are going to go wrong, especially if you have that kind of mindset that everything is going to go wrong. I think even it took me so long before I began the big business, because I was like, I don't have the capacity for me to be able to do this particular business. But that does not help. So it's for me to call out that personality or being self-aware, that it's not because I do not have the ability, but I'll only be able to know what my capacity is if I'm already in that business. I think it's just like driving. You'll not be able to know how you're going to maneuver the roundabout unless you're already in the roundabout. And so you build your capacity when you're in the business. Of course, the other thing is because of perfectionism and being aware. Also, when you're approaching the client, if you have a lot of these things going on at the back of your mind and you're not aware that a lot of these things are just going back at the back of your mind and they're not necessarily true, of course, it will affect how you approach and even how you're going to convince the customer either to take the business or not. It will affect your pricing.
I know.
Do you feel that you're worth top dollar, or do you feel that you're supposed to be paid some pennies, So a lot of these things still come, and a lot of these things are very important, where you're able to catch yourself and say, Susan, this is a character issue, not necessarily that it's the reality on the ground. And so you can be influencing your business either positively or you're actually influencing it very negatively.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, just like Dennis alluded to that, it gives you, self-awareness gives you the confidence to present it as it is.
Yes.
So that you have seen this service I am giving is worth so much. Sometimes you can change yourself and think, my goodness, if I tell them 1 million, they might
not pay.
close the door and they will never want to see me again.
Yes.
But that confidence to actually present it as it is,
yes,
and let them counter and probably give you a counter offer, and you say, this one I will not negotiate because of 1, 2, 3, and they either take it or leave it. And probably, in fact, the other day I was listening to somebody saying how they quoted for a product, and they thought they had done it. Yani, if you give me this, kumbe there's someone else who gave a higher figure, and they went for this higher figure because they thought this one is not quality, but this one is
This
better
one is,
quality.
yeah.
So I think being self-aware and the things that, for example, fear, as you're mentioning it, in fact, what I'm thinking about as you say that is when God is with you,
Yeah.
some of these things should actually not happen because you know it's me.
Yeah.
I am a team with my God and we're going to wait. You know, we're going
Yeah.
to hit it and we're going to move,
Yeah,
and make it happen. And so even fear itself, even while we are told, he tells us, God tells us in Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God.
Yeah.
I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand.
That's true.
And even as you face it, you're saying, Lord, you know, I have done my calculations this far. I have done my markup this much. It's coming to a whole million, so give me the strength to actually present it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you take it in and you know, you're able to present it because you're aware that in your mind sometimes you can think, if I tell them a million, it will be too much.
Yeah.
But again, because you've gone through it and you've submitted it to God and He has helped you to actually go through it and be able to present it as it is, and then you table it.
Yeah.
So indeed,
Yeah. I think the other thing I think that is coming to mind, and we probably also being aware of other people.
Yeah.
I think also in leadership, how people would respond to certain situations is also something that becomes very important. And I'll just give an example. Sometimes we're in the field and there's a lot of pressure. And you know that if, as an individual, if you pass this information in a certain way, it's not actually going to help that particular employee, but it's going to actually affect them in a negative way. So your ability to be able to cushion your staff so that you receive the hit, and even how you pass that particular information for them so that they're still able to deliver is even in a better way. So you know that if I am very hard on this one, that's what is going to make them probably deliver it well. But if I'm able to have a conversation with this one, I'm probably able to get the kind of results that I want as a leader. So I think now also you, when you're very self-aware, as Dennis has said, then you also are very aware of your team and where their strengths and where their weaknesses are. And so even when you have a shortfall as an individual, then you're able to use their strengths for them to be able to cover the kind of shortfall that you have.
Whoa, amazing.
Yeah.
Great. And even as you speak, I'm actually just thinking about, you know, there are things that you can react on, and especially when an employee has made a mistake or something has happened and you react there.
Yes.
And you erupt and you
Yes.
don't bring out the feedback as it was supposed to be.
Yes.
But if you hold back, they call it the 5-second rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I say, Dennis, I didn't think you would do it this way. I'm able to actually take it in and release the pressure first and then give the feedback, because I am aware that when I erupt big time. But if I take time to take it in and, you know, deliver it, then it comes out well. Indeed, so self-awareness. Lovely. And of course, I don't think it happens overnight. I mean, I'm hearing these things. I'm only imagining it's a journey. What does this journey look like, Dennis?
Yeah, self-awareness for sure, Sarah, is a journey, as you've mentioned, because one, it takes a mental shift. You have to shift your mindset so as to be self-aware. And why is it important to have a mental shift? Because it's a journey, and at times it can be long. And why is it long also? Because you never really get to the apex of self-awareness. There is no point at which you'll sit back and say, I am fully self-aware. Because you are changing every other day. Based on the circumstances, based on the environment, based on so many things, because you are growing. So it's a process. And some of the aspects of this process of self-awareness, the first one is that you have to be very mindful. And what do I mean by saying that you have to be mindful? Because Susan said that at times fear is elusive. And I think success is also elusive. And because you get to a point where just when you are about to feel like you are successful, something comes up and you discover your success is not, probably, there is still more that can be done. You've not really hit your potential, or you can do better. And by so doing, you can easily lose sight of what you have already achieved. You can easily lose sight and become ungrateful. Yeah. So just as Paul says that we have to be content, godliness and contentment is great gain. We can miss out on that gain of contentment because we want to hit the next goal. We want to hit the next target. We want to grow even more. We want to, we feel that our potential is yet to be met. Yeah. And so we can lose it. We can lose the aspect of being grateful for what we have achieved today, for what we achieved yesterday, even as we look forward to all those goals that we have set, as we look forward to increasing our capacity. So the first aspect of self-awareness is mindfulness. We need to be able to sit back and just be grateful of where we are presently, because whoever you are, there is something you have achieved. There is something that you can be grateful for. So that is very important, because it also becomes fuel for you to move to the next level.
Wow.
So mindfulness is important. The next aspect is self-reflection. You need to be able to reflect every now and then. As Susan was saying, what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What are my values? How can I do this better? Yeah. How can I encourage other people to partner with me? How can I collaborate with other people? Because, for example, an organization, as it's growing, you can't do everything. Yeah. So you need to be able to reflect and ask yourself, who else do I need to bring in? One, to the organization. However, also in your life, you are not an island as a man. You need other people in your life. So you need to be able to reflect, where am I at with my family? Where am I at with my friends? In regards to how you relate with them, in regards to the value they add to your life. So self-reflection is very important. Another aspect, or the third aspect, is feedback. You need to be at a point where you are open to feedback, which is probably the toughest in this process, because feedback is very painful. Many a times,
Especially negative
feedback, which many a times is what we get. Because when you look at the aspect, the mind of a human being, our minds are very quick to pick the negatives. And one of the examples is when you look at the news, many a times, good news does not sell as much as
the bad and the ugly.
Yes. Yeah. So most of the times you're likely to get negative. So you need to be able to ask yourself, is this objective or is it subjective? Is it adding value to me? So being at that point where you're able to receive feedback, and also where you are open enough, where people know they can give you feedback, and the feedback will add value to you.
Wow.
Yeah. And as so doing, when we are talking about feedback, if you're going to be open to receive feedback, then that means that you also have to equip yourself to be able to give feedback. Just as you are saying, the example you gave of the 5-second rule, because if you want other people to give you feedback, when you self-reflect, then that tells you that you also need to be aware enough to give the right kind of feedback to other people. Because at times there is a way you can give feedback. Yes, it's good feedback, but the way you communicate it ends up doing more harm than good. So feedback is another critical aspect of the process. Then the other part is the aspect of being able to self-heal or have self-compassion.
Empathy
towards others and even towards yourself. Yeah, because we've said it's a process, because it's a life journey. And it's going to hit you where emotions will be all over at times. You need to be able to be at that point where you are able to be compassionate with yourself. Even when you fail, you have the right mindset to pick yourself up, and more so in business. If there's something that business people and entrepreneurs and probably everyone in life is accustomed to, is failure. However, it's important to understand what's your mindset when it comes to failure. Are you able to self-regulate and have that self-compassion to know, yes, this is part of life, pick yourself up and move on with the journey. So those are very key and important steps in this process of self-awareness.
Oh, amazing. Very, very nicely articulated and delivered. And I love the fact that, in fact, you're beginning from the most basic one to the one that you must do. Actually, all of them you must do. But you're beginning from this to the next, and they're all very applicable, and there are things that we must do so that then we can be able to be self-aware. I wonder whether, my dear viewer, you're self-aware. Do you know? Do you appreciate the space of your character, the space of your emotions, the space of your values and feelings? Do you? Do you? And especially if you're a business person or an aspiring business person. And I'm hoping that you're appreciating that these ones will affect the way you will do business, because you're not an island. You will be dealing with other people. But first and foremost, you will be dealing with yourself, because you're the first fruit out there of your business. And then the rest of the people that you communicate with, that you live with, that you work with, the employees, there is the government, there is partners in business who bring on supplies, for example, suppliers. There are those that are funding, the funding organizations, and so on and so forth. And without having this self-awareness, then you might as well kill your business with your own two hands. So I'm really loving this, that we're unfolding it and we are saying that you must be self-aware. But then again, I am left at a place where I want to see the applicability of it. Here is somebody starting out business. They don't know where they can even take these lessons from. They have no idea what the journey would look like, where to begin, you know? And oftentimes, by the way, people just wake up, and because they are driven by a certain need, they want to begin a business, you know? Because I am driven to make money, I want to begin a business. So I'll not even take time to do a SWOT analysis of myself to see what works for me, what I have, what I don't have, what are my key strengths and everything. So this journey, where do we begin it, Susan? For such a person who wants to embark on the journey of business, but they have no idea. This self-awareness we're talking about, where do I begin it? Where does the journey begin, you know? Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the things that that person can start, there are very many tools that you can find on the internet that can actually be able to help you. It could be the temperament test that can actually just give you a view of who you are, how you relate to people, how you relate to your family. So that can be a very good start for you. Also, your friends can also be very, very good people, especially if they're very objective and they can give you candid feedback. And of course, with examples of why they feel these are some of your areas of strength and some of your weakness areas. Your employees can also be some of the people who can also give you a lot of that feedback from interacting with you if you already have employees. As you said, when we get into business, we don't really think that a lot of our character also affects a lot of our business. But it actually does. It affects the culture of the organization. It affects how people behave, how they view things, because you're sort of like the mirror that they're constantly looking at to know this is the way I should probably be behaving when I'm dealing with a supplier, when I'm dealing with a customer, when we're even dealing with each other. And so I think just those particular areas, just looking around yourself, keeping a journal, and just writing down a lot of probably what has happened during the day, because sometimes when you write your mind is very clear when you're probably saying what is probably a true or an illusion or something that had happened in that particular day, and then you're thinking, this I should have actually dealt with it in this particular way, and I can try out a different way of dealing with certain issues, and then just see how I get in terms of response. So I think journaling, your friends, a lot of these tests online can help you. A lot of customer feedback can also help you. Sometimes some customers can be brutal, but that is what you need sometimes. So even if they're brutal to you, does not necessarily mean you're also brutal to your employees, but also how you deliver that kind of feedback, and even the timing is also something that would be very important.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But I also think there's the space of introspection.
And reflection.
And reflection.
And reflection.
Yes, and also seeing where have I come from?
Yes.
What has been very consistent in my journey?
Mm.
What has worked?
Yes.
What have I enjoyed doing?
Mm.
What is it that seems to make me struggle a little?
Yeah.
You know, and all that. And I want to believe that even in that secret place of prayer, one can be able to actually know what
Yeah.
works for them.
Yeah.
Enough times, by the way, when I'm given an assignment that is a bit too humongous, enough times I go down and just ask God, what would you have me do in this one? Who would you have me speak to? Where would you have me read? And so most often I think we just miss that place of solitude.
Of solitude, yeah.
And that place of solitude is very, very important in the journey of self-awareness, in my opinion. What do you think, Davis? Dennis?
Yes, it's important. One of the aspects that you'll go through when it comes to self-awareness, and I think on a day-to-day basis as a human being, is there'll be emotions. And what you're talking about, being in that place of solitude, many people will avoid it because it helps you come in touch with your emotions, with your thoughts. However, it's a place that brings a lot of self-understanding, and also a place that brings you into contact with God, because it's in those secret places where you are all alone that you get to do the self-reflection that we were talking about. So it's important to, every once in a while, have time with yourself, away from all the distractions and away from all the noise, so that you're able to hear what is deep within you without all the noise that other people are going to bring, and also hear from God. Because it's in those silent moments, God is able to, because he's our creator.
Yes.
Yeah. And as our creator, because we have been created in his image, we are also creators. And it's at times in those moments where we are able to become even more creative, and we are able to understand what is within us that we are able to use to serve other people, and that we can grow to become better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, all in all, I think I hear you say that self-awareness begins with God, first and foremost. Before you can even begin uncovering it for you, it is at that quiet space with God where you begin seeing what it is, where is it, whom does he want you to do, and all these things. And he begins to reveal who really you are, and then you uncover it yourself, like peeling an onion by and by, by and by.
I think one of the things I can mention, I think from the biblical aspect, when you look at Joshua, Caleb, and even David, when the spies were sent to look at the land, we had the 10 spies who came and said, it's good, it's beautiful, it has milk and honey and all that, but they're giants. And if you look at the response that we get from Joshua and Caleb, they said, yes, it has giants, but we have God with us. So I'm just paraphrasing. We have God with us. When David wanted to face Goliath, one of the things that he said, of course, he looked at what God has been able to do for him previously, where he met the lion and the bear. But he was also not just giving his own CV, but he was also giving God's CV in terms of, you're trying to defy the armies of the living God. And so I'm not coming you with a sling, but I'm coming to you in the name of the Lord. So your ability also to be able to face a lot of these things, and I think even having conversations with Dennis, a lot of these things are just happening in your mind. A lot of them are impacted by the kind of environment that you're probably used to, even from your childhood, and even the experiences and the infirmities that you have faced as an individual. And so how you present yourself might not necessarily be what you want as an individual or what you would have desired. But of course, the Word of God is able to help you get God's view of who you are and your abilities and how you can actually be able to overcome the challenges that you have in life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love where we have gotten to. Can you imagine our time is up? It is gone. 1 hour is gone. It's a very short time. It sounded like a very long time, but it's a short time. And I'm glad that our dear viewers, you have been there, you have journeyed with us. And I am certain that a few of you may have questions, may have responses to this, and may want to engage further with Susan and Dennis. And so I want to quickly give you an opportunity to do just a very brief parting shot, but also give your contacts to our dear viewers so that they can get in touch with you for more help in case they need you. Would you?
Yeah. I think I would speak to the people who want to get into business. Don't be so afraid of it. Jump. You'll only be able to know what you can actually be able to achieve when you're ready there. For people who are in business, I think whatever culture you have and whatever vision that you have, I think self-awareness is one of the areas that is very important for you to be able to know, because it will eventually affect your culture. It will eventually affect the kind of employees that the employee behavior that you will have in the organization. Yeah.
How about your contact, Susan?
All right. So you can reach me on 0721 311 444. We have the Proven Facebook page, as well as Instagram page, that we share a lot of what we do in this particular market and the kind of impact that we've been able to create in this market. Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Thank you for being with us this evening. How about Dennis?
My encouragement to everyone, and whether in business or every individual, is that self-awareness is key for your personal growth in whichever area you are in. So I would want to challenge you to jump in and get to know yourself better, get to know yourself deeper, and by so doing, you'll be able to be more impactful and effective wherever you are, whether it's in your family, whether it's amongst your friends, or even at work or in business. So take that step and get to know more about yourself. It's going to be a worth investment. And you can get me on 0725 210 181, 0725 210 181, and we can take this journey together. Thank you.
Whoa, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you so much, Susan. I see somebody asking, and this is a matter of yes or no for you, Susan.
Yes.
Are the fundis registered by NCA? Joram is asking this.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Joram?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
The other question, and I'm sure this one who asked this one can engage further, especially with Dennis here. How has the current HR role contributed to self-awareness in businesses? Should self-awareness be driven by HR or employees themselves? And I want to quickly answer that and say it is you. That rests on you. It has nothing to do with your HR manager. Of course, they are a support system for you, but it begins with you. An employee who needs the journey to self-awareness, it actually begins with you.
Yeah.
And so, our dear viewers, we come to the end of our show tonight. It has been a great, great moment with you. We really appreciate that you have kept it right there. But even as we end, my take would be, whatever journey you're on, keep making the steps forward. Self-awareness will happen as you do life. It will not happen as you sit back and relax. No, keep moving, keep making the steps forward. And as you do this, you're interacting with people, feedback will come in. You're interacting with your own self amidst challenges, feedback will come in. And from there, you will be able to know what works for you, what you can be able to do, how to manage this, how to manage the other, and the journey will keep getting better. But above it all, Don't forget your space, your moment, your closet moment with God, because it's in those moments when you become aware of the greater things, the greater mysteries that you have within you, that make you aware that you can actually be able to surmount mountains that you never thought you would. And with that said, I'm really hopeful that it has been an impactful session with us. I appreciate Susan and Dennis for being in the show tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next Sunday, same time, same place. And with that, it is Kwaheri for now. Thank you.